And what an exciting journey it has been for the NAB Challenge over the last 2.5 weeks or so. Let's not forget, Melbourne made their first appearance, led by Paul Roos, back in Game 3 of the NAB Challenge, and they recorded a win over Richmond. And since then, we have travelled to all parts of the country. A mini showdown pre-season. We saw Gary Ablett turning it on, as he always does, for the Gold Coast Suns. I'll tell you what, West Coast, did they look good, giving last year's grand finalists, the Fremantle Dockers, an absolute hiding. There was the big rainfall down at Simmons Stadium in Geelong. We've been to Sydney. This was GWS and the Swans. No Buddy Franklin there. We were to see him later in proceedings. The Hawks at their home ground in Tasmania getting hold of North Melbourne. We've seen plenty of action throughout the course of the NAB Challenge. We've been as far north as Townsville. The Brisbane Lions recording a win after copping a hiding in their first match. Daisy Thomas, his first appearance as a Blue, but no joy for the Blues. We saw Paul Chapman, a former Cat, now a Bomber. But it was Jared Polak who looked very, very good in his second club there. Gumbledon, unfortunately, his injury woes continued. Buddy Franklin did make his first appearance as a Swan against the West Coast Eagles, but no joy for them. And this afternoon we find ourselves at TIO Traeger Park up at Alice Springs for NAB Challenge game number 17 between Geelong and the Melbourne Football Club. Alongside me, a couple of legends of the game in Barry Hall and Danny Frawley as we watch the Geelong team making their way out onto Traeger Park. We're also joined by the coach of the Geelong Football Club, Chris Scott. Scotty, great to have you on board, mate. How have you enjoyed your time up here?
It's been good, Chase. It's been brief to this point, but we've already been out a little bit in the community, and we know Melbourne are going to play a couple of home and away games here this season, so we're happy to do our bit as well.
Now, I know you don't make excuses, but you have had a terrible run with injuries pre-season. You need a little bit of luck with your fit list if you're going to have success. How are you coping with those injuries?
Oh, it's going to be hard. I mean, I've heard the rhetoric that all players are replaceable. That's simply not true, especially the big guys. Nathan Vardy's just had a wretched run. We're going to stand by him, and we're sure he'll be back. But it does give some opportunities to some players we've had on our list for a few years that we are pretty confident can play, but just we haven't seen at AFL level all that much.
Well, a couple of names there, Joel Hamling and Jared Jensen, a couple of tall, young key position players. A snapshot of the future, Scotty?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, they're both Perth boys, both about the same height, but Jensen's more a midfielder. He's your prototypical modern-day on-baller. He's 193 centimetres and 97 kilos at 18 years of age.
And a good news story, I know you had a lot of injuries, but Hamish McIntosh hasn't played since 2012, come off the long-term injury list. That's a good story for you guys.
Yeah, it is. We were hopeful he could play some footy NAB 1. We were just going to ease him into it, but he got a little bit sore, so as we are with all our players, we're a bit cautious. And we're going to be cautious tonight as well. He's going to play 30 minutes of footy as it stands at the moment, but if he gets a little bit sore, it could be less, so no promises when it comes to Hamish.
We just saw a look at some of the injured players. You've also moved James Podsiadly on. How's the forward line going to look come round 1?
Well, we're pretty optimistic that Tom Hawkins will get back to his best footy. And we've got a few young guys that, the general public and even our supporters wouldn't have seen much of. We're pretty confident that Mitch Brown can be a player, Shane Kirsten, Josh Walker. We've got some options there. It's going to hurt a little bit when we see Pods play some good footy for Adelaide, given that Vardy's out for the season. But it's pretty hard to make these decisions with the benefit of hindsight.
Josh Caddy, another season under his belt. What do we expect from him this year?
Sorry, James Kelly.
Josh Caddy.
Josh Caddy. We think he's taken some steps forward. It took him probably a little bit of time to adjust to our system, as you'd expect from a third-year player. But his pre-season's been really strong, and we thought towards the end of last season he looked like being a really strong inside mid for us. So, we've got a young midfield group, and we're really asking him to lead them.
We can see the Geelong line there. Anything that we need to look out for tonight, Scotty?
It's pretty standard. I mean, we'll experiment with a few things. We'll play Bartel forward as opposed to back. We'll see Kelly back for a little bit. Stevie Johnson might play a little bit more forward, as he's done in the past. I mean, we still think he's going to be a great midfielder for us, but he's a proven goal kicker. So with those guys you mentioned out of our forward line, we'd like to see a few more goals out of him.
Scotty, appreciate your time. Good luck tonight, and good luck for season 2014.
No worries. You too.
Good,
Thanks,
Scotty.
guys.
Good on you, mate.
Always a champion with his time. Chris Scott, the coach of the Geelong club. Let's have a look at the Melbourne lineup, because they've been impressive. I mean, we've seen how they disposed of Richmond early on, and there's a few players that are new to this club.
Yep. No Garland, James Frawley, a little bit of flu, which is unbelievable out. Looking forward to seeing him, Baz. But young Hogan in the forward line, I know you're all over him. Jesse Hogan.
There's big raps on this kid. He's been training for number 2 draft pick, so obviously they've got some value in him. I'm looking forward to really seeing him. There's some really good inclusions. Daniel Cross and Bernie Vince, who played pretty well last week.
I think this is a young man we're all looking forward to seeing as well, young Jesse Hogan, a big lump of a lad, just a young bloke that they hope to make into one of the competition's best key forwards. A short time ago, I had the opportunity to catch up with Jack Trengove and asked him what to expect from Jesse Hogan.
Yeah, big Hogs. He's an angry man, and he sort of spent last year with us as a 17-year-old, and probably just to learn the ropes, and it's put him in a really good space. And hopefully, we don't want to put too much pressure on him because he is still only 18, but we saw in the VFL last year what he's capable of. So hopefully he can just keep building and improving, and it's his first real chance to have a hit out against an AFL side today, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes.
So that's how it's shaping up here at Traeger Park in Alice Springs. We are gearing up for a start between Geelong and Melbourne. Make sure you join Matty Campbell after the break as we pick up all the action from the first bounce. It's NAB Challenge, the Cats and the Demons in Alice Springs.
Welcome back to TIA Traeger Park Oval here in Alice Springs for this second last game of the NAB Challenge. Bit of a light breeze around. It is still very warm, so the heat policy has come to play. It's still 33 degrees out there for the players, so there'll be no interchange cap, and there are 8 substitutes, 8 interchange, no substitutes. So normal time, game time will be played, normal breaks. So 8 interchange as the relative captains come in for the toss. Joel Selwood, Jack Grimes. Joel Selwood has won the toss, and the Cats will kick to the left of the screen. Here's Joel with Barry.
Yeah, thanks, matey. Well, Joel won the toss. He had a pretty good hit the first week of the NAB Cup Challenge. What's going to be the message to the boys?
Oh, I think a lot of the same. We brought the intensity pretty well that night, and we hope to do the same again tonight.
Well, good luck.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, they were intense, weren't they? That was a great start to the NAB Challenge, that game against Collingwood down at Simmons.
It's one of the best matches we've seen thus far, I think.
Yeah, I think so. The intensity was there, and it's great to see.
Well, it's great to see Joel Selwood back as well. He had his foot in a boot for about a month, and of course, Hamish McIntosh. There's
a few stories here.
Nathan Vardy going down for the season, so a couple of stories to look out for.
I was downstairs a little earlier on having a chat to Paul Roos, George Stone, a few of the Melbourne coaches, just talking about the ground, because Melbourne have had a training session here already.
Yes.
And they said there's actually a surprising amount of give in the ground. It can be a little bit dead, so we mightn't see the ball bounce as high.
It looks pretty hard in the middle, though, so we'll keep an eye on that, around where the ball's being bounced. But as I mentioned, a light breeze coming across the ground, blowing to the broadcast side.
There's the Melbourne forwards there. We've got Jesse Hogan and, of course, Fitzpatrick. No Mitch Clark, of course, and Chris Dawes. So get those two power forwards back into that forward line. They're starting to look very dangerous.
Jeremy Howe, who doesn't mind playing in the territory. He's taken a couple of hangers up in Darwin.
I don't know if we're shrinking as we get older, Spud, but when you're down at ground level and you look at the players, they're all monsters. I mean, even the midfielders are 6'3" now.
I'm happy to say that we're shrinking as well.
Well, Jared Jensen, Chris Scott said pre-game that, he's 192, he's a midfielder.
He's 97 kilos.
Yeah, and he's
watching him in the
6'4"
warm-up as Chris was talking about him, and he does move very well. So that's a lot to look forward to this evening. There is Hamish McIntosh starting on the bench, one of the 8. So we'll wait for his return to football. A long time coming. Good family atmosphere here at TIO. A lot of people enjoying the sun still, sitting out and watching some AFL football from Alice Springs. The Cats and the Demons underway. And away goes Spencer with the first knock, and Selwood straight into the action with the first possession. Kelly down low. Dispossessed. Tyson, Watts. The give was probably the right one. There was a bit of pressure there for Vince. Tyson again, bumped off it. Kelly strong in the pack. Gets his kick forward. Bartel slipped it over and ends up with Duncan.
Hawkins one-on-one with Tom McDonald, so no James Frawley in the team today.
There he goes. Oh. Just not sure whether there was a bit of sun there.
I think there might have been. Yeah.
Because he had that. He was in the perfect position for that, Hawkins. But anyway, still going. Umpire giving the players plenty of time to get possession and get it clear. Vince trying to do that. Guthrie gets to the top of the square. Oh, sliding in and almost taking the mark was Mitch Brown. But he recovers well. Gives it over, gives it to Hall and Smith, and he dribbles along the ground for the first score here in Alice.
Another good opportunity for Mitch Brown. And it's going to be interesting to see who does get the second tall spot up for it, as we see Tom Hawkins leading. Almost shut his eyes when the ball came in. Perhaps wasn't aware exactly where it was.
Definitely in his eyes. You could see just about the mark of the shade of the ball was in his face. So.
And very warm conditions out there as well.
This is a new player, Alex Giorgio, 24-year-old from Norwood in South Australia, so a mature age recruit. Bernie Vince, who was impressive in their win over the Tigers. New lease of life. There's a risky kick towards Dunn, and it's come on Stark. Johnson, what can he create? Kelly would tackle Jones and recovered to get the ball, and Kelly gets him.
Yeah, the kick was there from Vince, but about half a second earlier. He just had to pull the trigger. It was on, but then all of a sudden Geelong got a little bit closer, so better pull the trigger a little bit earlier.
Good tackle from Jones, but Kelly got back up and wrapped him up. Selwood, Johnson. Now to Simpson again. It was Hall and Smith involved. And onto the chest of Mitch Brown.
Just back half a metre from the Alex. Thank you.
Saw them kicking pre-game. It'll take his best kick.
He's sort of... The breeze is not directly in his face, but it's going to be a little factor. He's just outside 50. It's going to push it right to left. Not a bad kick. Beautiful kick, Mitch Brown. Don't worry about the breeze. He just slammed it through. Confident finish. And you talked to Chris Scott, Jason, about who's going to be in their forward structure, and that's what he'd like to see.
Exactly right. I mean, there's a few that'll get an opportunity as we see the match pan out tonight. I mean, don't worry about that breeze, because that has gone over the fence, not just over the goal line. But you know, there's a few likely types that they'll give a run up there, and it's going to be interesting to see. Josh Walker's another that'll spend time forward, I'm sure. They've got Kirsten as well, who'll get a chance at some stage. But Mitch Brown, they say he's played well forward all pre-season. He just needs to transfer that form now into the matches.
Yeah. Alex Giorgio is giving away about 11 centimetres on Mitch Brown. So Giorgio's 187 and Brown's 196. So no Garland, no Frawley in the Demons' defence.
How many centimetres was that?
I said 196, 9.
Yeah. Not 11.
Thank you.
It started early. We talk premiership twice. Back in the action. Dunn. Cross. Here's the man Danny was just speaking about. Giorgio. Kick out in front of Howe. Harry Taylor right with him. Smets over the top of him.
Well, that's going to be an interesting matchup, isn't it? Harry Taylor loves to go for his grabs.
Yep.
And we know that Jeremy Howe's never in doubt. So Harry's a terrific spoiler, so maybe he just has to be a little bit defensive-minded early, Harry.
Jones did well to get it to Burns. Watts.
A bit of holding on.
Good decision.
So it's Jared Rivers on Jesse Hogan, and now an opportunity for the mountain of a man. He's only a young man, but he is huge.
He's a big man.
He is huge. And he's going to be a towering presence up forward for the D's. We get a good look at his kicking routine right here. So directly in front, he kicked from about 45.
Just turned 19 in February, a couple of weeks ago. Hogan with a bit of a stutter. Hits it okay. Well, it started off being a little bit questionable, but the finish was there, so a good finish from him. One from Brown at one end, Hogan at the other.
A little bit of the Ben Reid that we saw a couple of seasons ago.
He was holding the ball over his left leg initially.
Yeah, he was.
Then a bit of a stutter, but
he kicked through it, he punched it, and he did it very, very well.
Now, the free kick was there. It was well played from Hogan. He knew the space in front, so why take up that space? And that'll be great for his confidence.
So the two number ones are on the board. There you go. Best and fairest in the VFL. 39 goals and ranked number 5 at just 18.
That's a terrific effort, isn't it?
Yeah.
Win the BNF in the VFL team, the Scorpions, the affiliate team, the Melbourne Footy Club.
Watched him play for Western Australia in the under-18s, and he was just too big. They were just hanging off him.
Would have been a man against boys, wouldn't it?
He was very good. Advantage paid as Caddy takes it away from the centre. Hawkins is his target. out in front. It was a good spoil in the end. Still going the Cats. Hawkins. That's McCarthy. Back to Hawkins. He's going to need a kind bounce here. Hard to get free. Now it's Jones. And he wants to use cross. He loves the handball. Done. In trouble. And he goes over the line. We'll have a rush behind. Cats by 2.
Thanks, guys. Clear out, please. That's your mark, Mitch.
Done to kick in.
Lights are on already here as the sun just starts to dip, and that'll give the players a little bit of welcome respite, I would have thought.
Yep. Breeze will just sort of catch that and push it towards the line. Good take, though, by Smets. He's off his line. He's told to go. Kicks it looking for and finding a good mark. This time it's Duncan. So Mitch Duncan and Billy Smets getting involved with fine hands.
That was good. That's the beauty of having Hawkins there. All the Melbourne defenders were thinking, well, we're going to go double team Hawkins, and all of a sudden Duncan knew that he was in the slot there. The wind just got it late. It was a terrific mark in the end.
Tom, can you just clear out immediately? Thank you.
So Duncan for Geelong's second. Just needs it to hold. It does. He finishes well. So we've had 3 set shots for goals. And Duncan kicks their second. It's just in that period in his career now where we'll see the best of him. 70 games under his belt, 76 games under his belt.
Yeah, he's an extremely talented young man, Mitch Duncan. And he can play just about anywhere. He can play back, midfield, he can play forward. He's, as you can see there, very good overhead. He's got good wheels, he uses the ball well. So he's one of those core players that I think will be the basis of Geelong's next 5 or 10 years.
It's only early, but Geelong have been in 4 times for 4 scoring shots. So defenders under a little bit of pressure at the moment, the D's defence.
Duncan comes to the bench for a spell. Back in the middle, it's Simpson and Spencer. The first to it again is Caddy, so he affects another centre clearance for Geelong. And they're looking dangerous when it gets in there. That's Blitzarves under all that.
Still getting their share of the ball, the D's. It's 24 possessions each. What's interesting is the distribution between kicks and hand passes. It's 12 and 12 for Geelong, so 1 kick, 1 handball. But for Melbourne, it's 7 kicks and 17 hand passes.
Yeah, under pressure trying to distribute just like that.
Here they go again.
Grimes in a bit of trouble. He had it a long time.
Gee, that was generous by the umpire.
Very generous. Murdoch tunnel balls it out. Blitzarves with strength to push it out. Caddy trying to do likewise. Falls though for Clisby, Blees, McKenzie. There's Hogan.
Oh, Jared.
He's walking up a long way from home, isn't he?
Yeah, probably going long down the line to Fitzpatrick. I like the initial look in. There was nothing there, so long down the line.
And Barry, you're at ground level, and we see that ball sort of drift over the boundary line, so that's across the ground. Is there either end have an advantage from goal kicking point of view?
No, matey, look, the wind keeps changing. It's very blustery, it's very swirly. But when the breeze does stop, it's very humid down here. There's some spray fans right in the players. We've actually got refrigerator rooms out the back to counteract the humidity. So once that breeze does go, which it does at times, it's very difficult for the players. So let's see how they cope probably later in this match.
Yeah.
It's good to see big Hamish McIntosh out there as well, having a run. Wouldn't he love to be in the thick of the action once again?
Yeah, he's just getting up, and he might get a chance here. There might be a ball up, although it does come out eventually. And there's some Melbourne players around. Grimes uses Watts. 2-on-1 situation here. Fitzpatrick probably fortunate to just get a fingertip on it to push it towards the line.
See what else we'll find with Hamish McIntosh. But we know he's got a great tank. He's a terrific athlete. But when you haven't played for the best part of 2 years, you'll be gasping after 2 minutes just being back in the fray.
Yeah, it was round 7, 2012. I think Chris Scott said before the games about 30 minutes of football into him today. So he's done the warm-up. Get him out there.
He's going to do battle here with Spencer. Spencer trying to find a target, and Duncan wins the free kick. No one on the mark. Duncan able to just wander off. Puts it pretty long, hoping for Brown. Over the back, first to it, Stevie J. He's caught though. He thought he was away, but he wasn't. But he's got support. And McCarthy, not his best finish, young Lincoln McCarthy.
Good chase by Grimes to run down Stevie Johnson. He would have been eyeing off the big white post, thinking he's going to run into an open goal, but he was quickly collared.
But he would have spun it round on its head and done something very spectacular with it, wouldn't he?
Great chase.
Yep.
And a good tackle not to fall into his back.
So boundary throwing, forward pocket for Geelong. They're up by 8.
Thank you.
McIntosh back in the fray. Schroeder's underneath all that, and he shovels it out. Hall Smith, he might want a free kick for High Hall Smith, who's been busy early.
He certainly has. He's coming up to disposal number 5 already. Let's have a look at the free. Was it there? Back into that a little bit.
So Hall Smith just needs to start this at the right post. Just curve it round.
Perfect.
That's how he does it. Easy finish for him. And the Cats out to a bit of a break here of 14 points. And there's another one of those Cats that'll look to impress Chris Scott and get more football this year.
Yeah, Josh Caddy as well. They're leading possession getters, Matty. Yep. If you have a look at the free kick again. Yeah, just a little bit clumsy there. Trengove, just with his left hand, sorry.
Just there, yeah.
Before his
head had gone down, it got the left arm across.
Yeah, but Hall Smith with 5 disposals, Caddy with 4. Brown and Hawkins lively early in the forward line for Geelong.
I think you hit it on the head, Spud. The story so far is how efficient they are going forward. 6 inside 50s for 5 shots. It's not bad going for the Cats.
Melbourne just the 1 goal. McIntosh trying to get around on the angle early. Spencer came flying through. Hall Smith tried to just give it over to Blitzarves. Mitchie couldn't get it forward. Blitzarves another chance. Tumbles it forward. It's a hard one to mark. It's going to keep bouncing towards the goals though. McDonald first back for the D's. By hand misses his target. Now just creates some extra pressure. Cross. Give over the top. It stays in though. He didn't want it to. Blitzarves. Johnson. Caddy. Spots a man in the middle. Missed him. He was hoping for Hunt, but he found McKenzie for Melbourne instead.
Well, this is an interesting switch because he doesn't really have a loose play to kick to unless he can get extra distance. Gee, that's a good kick, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the distance he was looking for. Brought Fitzpatrick into it, but he makes a bit of a meal of it. Howe takes on Kelly. He's a great tackler, Kelly. Threw it out. He's a hard man to get past.
The trouble is it was 2 against 3. The Cats had the numbers. Sometimes when you change direction, it can be actually more detrimental. If you haven't had a look first and you don't have players breaking to space and have the extra numbers, you really need to go back the other way.
Lonergan to Murdoch. Had Hunt
well, he's another one of those players. You mentioned Hall and Smith. Yep. You've got Guthrie, you've got Murdoch, you've got Smets. All these players now that have had to earn all their games coming into a really good side that's been in one of the the greatest winning streaks of all time.
Yep.
It's a great way to learn the game with good players all around you.
Hawkins almost did something miraculous there, but Matt Jones gives it over to Blease, who's a real speedster.
He's got nothing ahead either.
No, but he can run. He's still going, but it bounced up.
Well, the reason he kept running was because there was no one to kick to.
It's a set play.
And it's still 2-on-1 against Hogan.
Hogan's got to give it off to Burns. He's got only 1 target up forward, but he goes back. Trengo, stop-start.
It's a lot of Melbourne numbers in the middle of the ground, but there's very few in the attacking 50. That's the problem.
Done. Hits it up high. Jeremy Howe's lurking, but he's got to beat 3. And not given a clear run at the football, Jeremy Howe will win the free kick.
Yeah, it was at least 20 metres off the contest.
They had 5 or 6 on
They didn't have to do it.
Cats players everywhere.
And look, it was just a little bit inexperienced there from Lincoln McCarthy. He took his eyes off the ball as well. So what you need to do is turn your body, put your hands in the air as if you're marking it, and then you can still protect.
He can still make that same contact as long as he's looking at the ball.
Yeah.
Jeremy Howe. Halfway through this first quarter for Melbourne's second. And he does get it to go, and a good finish from him. So goals to Hogan and Howe for Melbourne.
What's encouraging for the D's, I mean, this is a good start for them. They're up against the power team of the last 7 or 8 years. And even though it might have been a little bit fortuitous coming from a free kick, they're holding their own. They're getting plenty of possessions. And we're not quite sure whether there's a scoring advantage at either end, but 3-2. I think Paul Roos would be pretty satisfied with that for a start. It's a good test, a good step up for the D's to take on a team like Geelong.
There's a former defender, Jared Rivers, won't be, I know he's down there, but just a lack of talk as well from the Geelong defenders. But it is a good start in the D's. Cross, Vince, Tyson, Giorgio, all new names, all for disposal and more.
Some footy.
So it's a new look Demons midfield. Jack Viney will be ripe to play next week as well. Another young gun for the D's.
Yeah. Simpson couldn't get a possession. Clisby goes wider to Watts and then Turlock, who goes back. Matt Jones just a smother, and it hasn't gone out yet. Now it has.
Jack Watts there, starting in the wing.
Getting a bit of the ball,
There he is.
He's had 5 possessions already.
And that's young Max King in the ruck for Melbourne.
Knives has got one on the fingers too. I wonder if he popped one out.
Holding the ball against Jones. He takes his time getting up.
Who looks up and says, how do I make an attempt when there's 3 blokes on top of me?
Wasn't too pleased. Guthrie's got a couple to choose from in the middle. Kelly. Nice easy switch here for the Cats. Thurlow drills it low. Too low, in fact. Hard one for Brown. McKenzie, that was quick. There's Hamling, one of the new players. Stevie J looks up, didn't see anyone, thinks I'll have a go. And he just scores a behind. Crowd continue to build.
The Melbourne defenders now, all the midfielders, they're huddling in the middle, so I look for a break to space, but Geelong are all over it because they've got a couple of outriders that go along to Watts.
Watts, he's the target, and he's found him nicely.
Yeah,
So
good set play, really good set play there. They had 2 outriders shallow, but just needed another one deeper there, Geelong.
Now he's not so sure, though. Often the second kick that can bring teams undone.
Well, that was just good manning the mark. It's as simple as that. It's terrific manning the mark there.
I think this is the side of the ground you're going to see most of the play on as well. It's where the wind is bringing the ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get a little bit more distance when you're kicking this side of the ground.
Notice Geelong are always quick to switch the ball into the corridor.
Thurlow got it from Lonergan. Puts plenty of depth on the ball, in fact too much. And almost again Brown, he's the target. McIntosh, quick kick over the top. McCarthy wanted to get left. They're going backwards now with Kelly, who hooks it around. It's the top of the square. It's a dangerous ball. High ball in. Harry Taylor's there.
Doesn't he love drifting forward?
Loves it.
And all he did was put him on the wing side of the contest. He knew the ball was going to continue to drift to that side of the pack. All he had to do was hold his opponent out and protect the area that the ball was going to drop into. Did it perfectly.
15 goals last year, Harry.
What sort of kick will he go? What sort of kick will he go with here?
And should.
Straight through.
Just like to think it's a drop punt. No, banana.
Banana. Never in doubt, whichever he was going to do.
They just don't like drop punts anymore, the players.
It's old-fashioned.
But it was beautifully read, wasn't it, from Harry Taylor?
Yeah.
And that's, you need to get out there early in the game and look at the conditions. Keep his eye on the ball. That's why he's a terrific mark.
We got Hunt involved. There's the kick from Kelly. Look at it drift across.
Yes, he's going to keep floating to the right.
Especially with that type of kick.
A little bit of early body work there on Blease, and too easy in the end. Mind you, Sam Blease isn't the matchup you want on Harry Taylor if you talk about Melbourne's defence either.
Yeah, a little bit undermanned, as Danny mentioned earlier, down back. Back in the middle, Spencer gets up high, and there's a good knock down to Tyson. Everybody swamps Bernie Vince, and now we're going to have a ball up. Grimes at the bottom.
Seem to be going extremely wide, Melbourne. It's a pretty wide ground, this one, boys, and We know they want to play possession footy and keep hold of it. They're using the ball pretty widely. Where you see Geelong, on the other hand, very direct. When we get in their forward line, using the corridor. Two totally different styles.
Yeah, there's the former Cat Burns. Long kick in. Almost the Mark Rivers. Didn't think Varco had it.
Did not have it at any stage.
McIntosh, a very clever little give.
It's only a third inside 50 to Melbourne, and a very shallow one, 3 to 11, Geelong's favour.
Duncan involved twice in that play.
Make that 12.
Not his best kick. Should be tidied up here. Clisby. Oh, now they're in trouble. Hawkins by hand. Duncan again. McCarthy, that'll come back on the breeze. Watch that. Oh!
It was just starting to work, Matty. You called it beautifully. Just watching Varco too. It's interesting that Geelong know Stokes, Motlop, Christensen. Varco's playing on the half-back line, and Chris Scott said pre-game he was going to experiment with a few things.
Yep.
We've seen Blitzarve start on the wing as well, because you've got Dawson, Simpson, and McIntosh as well. So look for Blitzarve, who we know is an elite runner.
Yeah.
Running on the wing as well.
They've kicked out to this side nearly every time, the D's.
Dean Turley took that kick in. Gives it to...
You're right, Jace. And every second, the next kick's coming to the wing for a boundary throw-in, because it's very hard to switch the ball straight into the breeze. So they'll go long again here.
And this is why they're not getting inside 50s, because Geelong are just setting up to defend this so easily.
Did well there, Cross, though. Good hands. Vince combining with Jones. Runs out of room, though. Got to be careful here. Tyson, Blees.
What it is, it's good support for numbers around the hands for Melbourne.
Good call, play on. They need to mop this up quickly.
Done. Back to Clisby. And they've got
Good kick.
a couple here.
Good
vision.
They've got loose players.
Burns, he's got a next man in the queue. Oh, and the kick is smothered by Varco.
Well done, Varco.
That's a criminal mistake, though.
Tumpus was away. He had 20 metres on his own.
We had Hogan deep in the square as well.
A tough one for Tyson there.
Boys, Hamish McIntosh has just come from the ground, and as you suggested, he couldn't blow a candle out, boys. He's very fatigued, so I reckon he'd be pretty happy with half an hour game time at this stage.
Stolen by Hall and Smith from the clearance. It's a touch kick. It'll be play on. They got one back there.
Now they can go.
The D's to Clisby.
There's someone coming at the ball there.
Yeah.
They're both all running away from the ball.
Went to the same spot.
Yep.
So that's something to work on.
Young Max King and Howe, there was no connection there. And obviously the tall forward, if it had been a Hogan, he would have come at the ball. So they're waiting.
Lovely work by Bartel, just cleaning that up at the ground level. Pushing it out in front of Hawkins. Well done, Giorgio, to rush it through for a behind. There's 4.5 minutes remaining in this first quarter.
That was a let-off too there for Geelong. Hawkins was on Giorgio there, which he would have liked that match up, Tommy Hawkins.
Clisby finding the ball over the last couple of minutes. He's now had 10 disposals, make that 11. But it's a little bit static here for Melbourne.
Gee, that's a dangerous kick.
It is, because Vince is surrounded by Cats. 1, 2, 3. The third was Hawkins. He gave it to Brown. Somehow it's still going for Caddy. And Caddy finishes off with a goal. They gave that up, Melbourne, and Geelong is such a good side. You can't afford to do that.
No, that's the one you don't want to do, Spud. I mean, we want to see change of direction. You want to play aggressive football that opens up the ground for you, but you've also got to execute and make the right decisions.
There was actually a play out wider to go for a really big 50-metre switch.
Yep.
He's gone for the short one, and as we know, a short error normally ends up in a score for the opposition. So the intent was there. I understand that, but there was a longer option out wider.
I guess it's encouraging that he actually tried to force something that way, but just need to hit the target.
Caddy's had a terrific start as well.
Yeah, he's a midfielder that will go forward and kick goals.
Well, he's had 3 clearances, 7 disposals, and he's kicked a goal and had 2 inside 50, so that's a fair quarter of footy.
Duncan's having a good quarter as well. That's
good lead.
Beautiful pass.
That's an outstanding pass.
Yeah.
And you win centre clearances like that, it puts any defence under pressure. As we said, no Frawley, no Garland. Tom McDonald was off the bench, on the bench for a 5-minute spell. So they're 3 main key defenders.
5 times inside 50, Mitch Duncan. He's been the main driver through the middle of the ground. Brown lining up for his second. Looks pretty good. Goal line doesn't move. Beautiful kick again from Mitch Brown. So he's been excellent with his 2 shots at goal. Becomes the first player on the ground with 2 goals. And all of a sudden the lead just jumps out to a bit of a dangerous one.
Yeah, they're winning the clearances 10-6, but crucially a couple of very clean centre clearances, and that gives the forwards opportunities to lead straight up the ground into pockets of space. Mitch Brown, a little lateral lead there. The kick was absolutely perfect from Mitch Duncan. There's not a lot a defender can do on that occasion.
Well, it's not. When the ball's been pumped in 17 times, as a defender, you know subconsciously you're on the back foot. And when the midfield's pumping the ball in like they are at the moment, I think the midfield of Melbourne, look, they're getting a little bit of the ball, but there's been far too many easy entries for Geelong at the moment.
You got Vince, you got Jones, you got Trengove in the middle at the moment. They need to get their hands on one of these centre clearances.
See what they can do. Spencer will be up against big Dawson Simpson. Spencer wins the knock. Where's the clearance? There's the quick hands from Vince to Jones. Goes sideways to Watts. They just can't seem to get it deep in the 50, can they? They're just playing all the, well, through the middle and just the forward part.
Well, Matty, they've got Hogan deep, but it's the Chris Dawes and the Mitch Clark factor. If you have that extra tall, you get someone coming at that ball, nice and strong, and then you've always got a key target in that 0 to 40 zone as well.
Mitchie, well, he's not sure. So in the end, he hits in hope, really. It's all Geelong. They probably should have thought that through. Jones found himself with a bit of time, looks up and was hoping to find Trengove. He waited for it though. Johnson is there with blitz-ups. Trengove with some strength to try and keep it alive for Melbourne. It comes out the side. Smets went back into trouble, handed it off to Stevie J, and then he breaks from the contest. Went for the check side kick. It was smothered. Mitchie has Nathan Jones forward of him. Instead he goes back. Grimes to Watts. McKenzie. Watts good running. Might have to go again. Oh, Turlick on top of Hawkins.
No one to kick to forward for the Cats. They're all up the ground.
McCarthy didn't see the man coming. And it's going to be a Melbourne free kick. It's going to go to Mitchie.
Yeah, Mitchie is another recruit for Fremantle. Been on the list for 3 years. He played the one game, had some horrific injuries over there, but last year played every game for Peel Thunder and won their BNF. So positive signs. Another young Melbourne midfielder.
That's a good switch.
That's the switch, isn't it?
That's the good one.
The low, quick one from Tyson to Clisby, and now done.
Got to hit that target.
Still going though. Burns on hands and knees was trying to find Bale. He couldn't. Kennedy one way then the other, or Kelly I should say. Caddy, McCarthy. They just turned it over there, Geelong. Lyndon Dunn in the way. Now what could Melbourne do on the way back? They've got 70 seconds to try and score another one. But they're in reverse. Tumpus. Big high switch. Tyson. Once again, he'll get it and give over the top. No. Decide to punch it low to Howe. With some space.
He's got Hogan deep. Yeah, double teamed, unfortunately.
Yeah. Clock running out though for Melbourne. McKenzie went to Howe again. Still too far to score.
Geelong have got numbers back beautifully.
Geelong just wanting to kick it up in the air.
Well, Hogan's got nowhere to lead to.
But they've got to show this patience, Bud. Keep chipping it around. I know you're mindful of the clock and you mightn't be quite sure how many seconds are on, but look for those little hit-up passes.
It's a good kick.
Oh, well,
choice of 2 from Vince. Summed it up, Jason. Vince didn't panic, but he had a choice of 2. One of them was Jimmy Tumpus.
Well, you called it perfectly. Geelong are waiting for him to kick it off. They've got their numbers back happy. So you've just got to continually rely on players to lead and lead and lead. And it's as important for the blokes leading that don't get the ball to keep leading as well, because that creates the space. You've just got to have continual movement, and then you need the right player with foot skills that can hit the target.
Well, we've seen Hogan and we've seen Howe with set shots straight through. Can Tumpus make it 3?
Oh, wow.
It's a horrible run-up. It's a stuttering, stirring run-up, but it doesn't matter. It's straight through. We've seen a couple of those. It's confusing to me, but straight kicking by Melbourne right at the end of the quarter gives them a bit of enthusiasm, but on the scoreboard, it's the Cats in control by 23 points. We'll take a break here from TIO Traeger Park Oval in Alice Springs. NAB Challenge live on Fox Footy.